We've had a lot of iPhone 17 updates over the past few weeks. 10 updates to be precise. First off, let's start with the colorful ones. And by that, I mean, literally. According to leaker Majin Apple is testing a new purple and green color for the base iPhone 17. Although, he is also saying that potentially one of these colors will not make the final cut, with the purple variant being the most likely to actually happen. Now, it is unclear if this purple will replace one of the existing colors or add to the existing lineup. That being said, if we take a look at the current colors, I can actually see why Apple may choose to opt for the purple over the green, as the teal color definitely has this green tint to it already. Now, in terms of the iPhone 17 Pro, Majin has also said that it may come in a sky blue finish, the same one that was launched with the M4 MacBook Air, which I was a really big fan of. Although I do wish that if Apple does bring this to the iPhone, they also add a bit more saturation to it, like in our concept here. Next up, we've got some display upgrades. Russ Young mentioned all the way back in September of last year that the entire iPhone 17 lineup will be adopting a 120Hz ProMotion display. However, as of a couple of weeks ago, there's now a catch. The iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Air may actually have a fixed 120Hz refresh rate rather than a variable one, which means that instead of being able to adjust from 1 Hz all the way up to 120Hz, it would basically only have a 60Hz and a 120Hz mode, depending on how you've set it in the settings. Again, very similar to what a lot of Android phones have. Now, there's a few things to take away from this. First off, this could indicate a potential battery life hit, as the display will always have to be run at 120Hz, no matter of the content. So going from the iPhone 16 to the iPhone 17, that's essentially the display working double the amount of time during your usage. The bigger takeaway, however, is that this likely indicates the absence of an always-on display, since this feature depends on the screen's ability to drop to a single Hertz refresh rate, or at least Apple's implementation of it. This does make sense on the regular iPhone 17, as Apple will want to create more separation between its Pro models and the base model. And even though you could argue that yes, the base iPhone 17 should have always-on functionality, since this is such a basic feature, it is quite clear and I would say a worthwhile incentive for Apple to push people to their next tier. In this case, the Pro iPhone tier. However, what really stands out to me is the suggestion that this limitation may also apply to the iPhone 17 Air. And here I'm very surprised because of two reasons. One, its battery life, and two, its positioning in the iPhone 17 lineup. So let's start with the battery life. But before that, did you guys know that your personal information can actually be bought and also sold online by data brokers like our hacker Ren here for profit? And did you also know that you also have the legal right to remove it? Although you do need to have the technical skills to do so. Well, that's where our sponsor Enquiries comes in, to save you from the stress of doing so with their most comprehensive solution yet, Enquiries Unlimited, which goes beyond automation to work around the clock and to keep your data safe. You'll be shocked what info can be found online, but using Enquiries custom removals, you can trigger opt-out requests for as many applicable links as you want. Reduce your digital footprint today by checking out Enquiries Unlimited by using the link below, or simply go to enquiries.com/ZONEofTECH to get an exclusive 60% discount off their annual plan. The iPhone 17 Air is designed to be an ultra-slim phone, which means that there's very little space inside for a large battery. In this case, every bit of power efficiency counts. If the phone were to run at a constant 120Hz refresh rate without being able to adjust dynamically, then the battery could drain much faster, which would be a significant drawback given the already small battery capacity. Which, by the way, is rumored to be only 2,800 mAh. Some reports do say that this may be silicon carbon, although some are saying that this will just be a higher density battery. But really, if this were silicon carbon, it would have been 5,000 mAh or even more, like all of the other super thin foldables, or the TechnoSpark Slim, which at just 5.75mm thin, it packs a massive 5,200 mAh battery. So if that 2,800 mAh capacity number is correct, then this simply means that it will still be using lithium-ion battery tech. And considering that Samsung did the same thing with their S25 Edge, I do believe this to be true. That's because silicon carbon is still a new battery technology, so cost is an issue, mass production is also an issue, and longevity is an issue too. So I think because of the large volumes that Apple and Samsung usually ship, they just couldn't get silicon carbon in the first generation of these ultra slim phones. But yes, a tiny 2800 mAh lithium-ion battery combined with that possibly fixed 120Hz refresh rate may make the iPhone 17 Air a nightmare of a phone in terms of battery life. Like, in my experience, the battery life on the S25 Edge is already very poor. I'm ending the day at 20% with light to medium usage. And keep in mind, the S25 Edge does have an LTPO display with a fully dynamic refresh rate, which the iPhone 17 Air is rumored to lack. And on top of this, the S25 Edge also has a much larger 1100 mAh battery than that rumored battery on the iPhone 17 Air. So based on these numbers, the iPhone 17 Air should last for like half a day. So I do think that Apple does have some tricks up their sleeve, although I'm not really sure what those will be. Maybe some Apple Intelligence battery optimization, like the adaptive power that we've seen in iOS 26. Maybe that's going to be a bit better on the iPhone 17 Air. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And I guess it's all even more confusing when it comes to the positioning of the 17 Air. The Air is rumored to replace the Plus variant, a phone that had an outstanding battery life, as good, if not even better, than the Pro Max. So maybe Apple sees this as more of a evolution of the Plus, a large iPhone, but lighter and more comfortable to hold. And then if you do want a battery beast, you would just go for the more expensive iPhone Pro Max and, give Apple $300 extra. For context, the iPhone 17 Air is speculated to start at $899, the same price as the current Plus model, which would honestly surprise me if true, since I would have expected it to be higher. Like, the S25 Edge sells for $1,100, although you could argue that it does have dual cameras, it does have a bigger battery, and it does also have an always-on display. Speaking of the S25 Edge, you can watch my full review of this ultra-thin new category of smartphones right here. Now, while we're on the topic of displays, a smaller leak is that the dynamic island may actually be getting smaller. We've heard reports last year from Jeff Pu that the iPhone 17 Pro Max may incorporate a narrow dynamic island after adopting meta-lens technology, which would enable the shrinking of components. However, this report has now been updated, with Jeff Pu now saying that it will actually apply to all models of the iPhone 17. What's interesting though is that Michiko saying that the dynamic island will remain largely unchanged. Whether this is him saying that there is no change or there is a change but that change is barely even noticeable is not very clear. So I guess we'll have to wait until September to see. Now, speaking of downgrades, here's the biggest one by far for me. The iPhone 17 Pro is rumored to actually downgrade its telephoto optical zoom from 5x to 3.5x in order for it to be better suited for portrait photography. Then, since this will be a new 48 megapixel sensor instead of the old 12, you'll be able to crop in without any loss in quality to 7.5x, up from the current lossless quality of 5x. Still, at high zoom ranges of 20x or 30x, the improvements would just not be there. And that's really where Apple is heavily behind competitors like Oppo, Vivo, and many others. Next up, we have some news regarding performance. Geekbench scores for the Apple A19 Pro chip have been leaked, according to Digital Chat Station, with the single-core performance being over 4,000 and the multi-core being over 10,000. For comparison, the A18 Pro scores around 3,500 for the single-core and over 9,000 for the multi-core. Not a bad upgrade at all, which suggests a solid 10 to 15% performance boost year over year. Now, on top of the raw performance gains, we'll likely also see improved power efficiency gains, as the Apple A19 Pro is set to be built on TSMC's newer 3rd generation 3nm process, the N3P. The standard iPhone 17 is rumored to stick with the Apple A18 chip, while the new 17 Air will reportedly feature the A19 chip instead, adding an extra layer of confusion really to this lineup. Now, back to the iPhone 17 Air. The recent iOS 26 Beta 2 update actually hints at the resolution of its display. Essentially, a new version of the classic clownfish wallpaper with a resolution of 420 by 920 at 3x was leaked, translating to a full display resolution of 2736 by 1260 with a 3x retina scaling. This resolution doesn't match any current iPhone display, but it does seem to be right in between the iPhone 16 Pro's resolution at 2556 by 1179 and the iPhone 16 Pro Max's resolution at 2796 by 1290, although closer to that of the 16 Pro Maxes. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in getting any of these stunning wallpapers from our iPhone 17 concepts, they are free to download from our app wallpapers. And lastly, the iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max were already rumored to feature a vapor cooling chamber, but now we actually have the very first alleged image of it. This is coming from leaker MyJinBoo once again, and if this is true, then we could actually see some serious gains in terms of sustained gaming performance on both the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max, as well as aid in Apple Intelligence with its constantly expanding computational requirements. On top of this, MyJinBoo also reiterates that Apple will be moving to an aluminum chassis, ditching titanium, which in turn would help dissipate heat as well, since aluminium is a significantly better heat conductor than titanium is. So all in all, both some positive and some negative news about the iPhone 17 lineup. Do let me know, what do you guys think of all of these changes, especially regarding the 17 Air and the 17 Pro camera downgrades. Do give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, it does help the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe for more iPhone 17 updates. I'm Daniel, this has been ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.